UFC 309 is on our doorsteps, and today I'll be bringing you guys my full card predictions and breakdown for every single fight on this card. It's actually a pretty underwhelming card compared to the rest of the pay-per-views this year. Not too many great fights, and the main event is very, very lackluster, but there are still a couple really good fights on here, and I'm very excited to bring you the predictions. And either way, no matter how good the card is, I'm always going to be there to predict it. So let's get in to the first fight on this UFC card. We have Basil Hafez taking on Oban Elliott, and Oban Elliott is 3-0 in the UFC, and without a doubt, a great fighter. But he's so slow on the feet, man. He's super well-rounded. He's got good wrestling. He has some pretty good submissions. He's able to take the fight in the deep waters. His cardio's good, but he's so slow. He's so slow. And he's taking on Basil Hafez, who's just a bruiser, man. He's a brawler, we could take the fight into the deepest waters. Okay. The deepest waters. And he's kind of known for giving Jack Della Maddalena his hardest fight in the UFC. A lot of people like to say that he won, even though he very well did not. If you watch that fight back and put it on mute, so you don't have to listen to DC glaze all his wrestling where he just sits in half control for 2 minutes over every round, you'll realize that Basil Hafez did not win the fight. Great fight. Great job by Basil Hafez, right? Seriously tested Jack Della Maddalena very, very nicely. That was a super, super impressive fight that he had. He was undoubtedly juiced to the gills. He had muscles and veins in places that I didn't even know that you could have him at. And, he took the fight on like a week's notice. Of course he's going to be juiced up, but he's still great. Mickey Gall, he got some slick submissions, He's he beat CM Punk. That's pretty cool, right? So Mickey Gall, he's pretty good. Okay, Mickey Gall, he's okay. I'm not gonna say pretty good. He's decent, and Basil Hafez really whooped his ass. So honestly, I don't really see how Oban Elliott has a chance here. I think Basil Hafez is gonna do exactly what he did against JDM, and he's gonna throw a big overhand, duck, big overhand into a crazy double leg takedown, and I think that he's just gonna smother Oban Elliott for 3 rounds and just kind of dominate him. Oban Elliott's too slow on the feet to get anything going on a guy like Basil Hafez. Oban Elliott's great on the outside, controlling the lead foot, all this fundamental stuff. But Basil Hafez is a bruiser. He has some great pressure, and he's just going to walk down Oban Elliott, pressure him up against the fence, get some good takedowns, some good, nice overhands, and he's going to win every single round. Give me Basil Hafez by a 30-27, very, very clear decision. Next up, we have Mickey Gall taking on Rahiz Brahmahaj, and these two fighters are like practically the same fighter. Damn near no stand-up, crazy submissions, and that's all they got. Not great wrestling from either one. Great jiu-jitsu, nothing else, right? So I honestly think that this fight is going to be super, super close. Mickey Gall, he's super mediocre. He's honestly just known for beating the whatever Mike, what even is Mike Jackson, man? What kind of UFC fighter even is he? He's like 2-2, and Mickey Gall beat Mike Jackson and CM Punk, dude. The two worst UFC fighters to ever be in the UFC, without a doubt. And Mickey Gall beat them both. That's kind of all that he's known for. Besides that, he had a great win against Sage Northcutt where he actually looked super good. That's his best win by far. And then besides that, he's kind of looked terrible. He's 7-6. That's like a woman's MMA record right there. That's a WMMA record. He's taking on Rahiz Brahmahaj. This fight is going to stay on the feet, I hope. I really hope that this fight is between two jiu-jitsu guys whose jiu-jitsu's, their jiu-jitsu kind of stales, just equals out, becomes non-existent because they both have great jiu-jitsu, and they just stay on the feet and bang, and it's going to be so pathetic and so sad. But Rahiz Brahmahaj has more power. If you just look at the two, Mickey Gall, he's a soy, soft, vegan-looking guy. Rahiz Brahmahaj, he's got some muscle on him. He's got a little stocky guy. He get in there, He can get in there, throw a big overhand, maybe. You know, he can do something like that, right? I think Raheem Brahmahaj is probably going to catch Mickey Gall. Mickey Gall's chin, it could be better. That's all I'm going to say. So give me Raheem Brahmahaj by a second round, maybe a third round KO, but if this goes to a decision, do not be surprised if Mickey Gall gets his hand raised. Next up, we have an actual pretty good fight here. We got Marcin Tybura taking on Gervonta Deniz, and honestly, I thought Marcin Tybura was genuinely a super good fighter. When he beat Tai Tuivasa, when he choked out Tai Tuivasa in the first round, I mean, I actually thought he was a really good fighter, and then he got subbed in a minute by big plotty man Sergey Spivak, and then I realized that he's not. And now he's fighting Gervonta Deniz, which they put Gervonta Deniz on last week's card. And for some reason, he was supposed to fight Derek Lewis, and then Derek Lewis just didn't show up to the weigh-ins. And they just took him off the fight. I mean, it was some super bizarre stuff. And then they booked him for just 2 weeks later against Marcin Tybura. Marcin Tybura has taken this fight on short notice. Technically, so was Gervonta Deniz, but he's been in fight camp. He's been ready to fight. He was supposed to fight Derek Lewis, which debatably is a way scarier and way better competition than Marcin Tybura. But I don't think Marcin Tybura is all that, man. I really thought he might have been, but honestly, I just don't think so. Gervonta Deniz has crazy power. He's actually a really good kickboxer for the heavyweight division. All right, you see his fight with Dylan Butka. He is seriously, it's Cesar Almeida. He did not fight Dylan Butka. But if you saw his last fight, he seriously looked great. I forgot the guy that he fought against, but he had pretty decent takedown defense, and he managed to find the KO, which is great, super impressive. He has really good kickboxing. He's KO'd almost everybody that he's fought, and I do think that he's going to do the same thing to Marcin Tybura. They're really trying to shoot Gervonta Deniz up in the rankings for a reason. He is a very, very promising talent for this heavyweight division. Give me Gervonta Deniz by a first or second round KO over Marcin Tybura. Next up, we got old ass Jim Miller taking on post-hair transplant Damon Jackson. And this fight, man, it's going to be a couple old guys just brawling, dude, going at it, man. Jim Miller, he's an old guy. He's just coming in here to slug, stand and bang, and then get out of here with a quick KO, right? That's probably what he's going to go for, right? He's, how old is he, like 42 years old. He's had like a billion fights in the UFC. And Damon Jackson, post-hair transplant Damon Jackson, he looks pretty solid. He beat Alexander Hernandez, kinda. That could have gone either way, I'm not going to lie, but they gave it to Damon Jackson. And, you know, for the point of this prediction, we'll just say that he beat him. Okay, Damon Jackson coming off of a complete, dominant, destroying, mauling of Alexander Hernandez is taking on old-ass Jim Miller. And Jim Miller, man, he's just, you know, coming in there, man, he's just going to stand, he's just going to bang, right? He's just going to come in there sneaking a big overhand, right? A real sneaky overhand. And, you know, let's just say that he catches Damon Jackson. Damon Jackson's chin, it's still terrible, okay? With a good hairline or not, your chin still sucks. And Jim Miller does have some pop. He really, really does. And if he really sits on those punches without a threat of grappling from Damon Jackson, which he's probably not going to see, he's probably not going to see much of a takedown threat from Damon Jackson. So I really think that Jim Miller is going to be really sitting into those punches, and I think he's going to catch Damon Jackson with a big shot. So give me Jim Miller by a first or second round KO. Next up, we have Chris Weidman taking on Eric Anders, and these are a couple old men. I'm gonna scrap it out, I guess. Chris Weidman just beat Bruno Silva due to eye poke KO by Chris Weidman. He was one of the most egregious eye poke performances I've ever seen. He eye poked Bruno Silva 4 times throughout the fight. He was sticking out his fingers like this the entire fight, getting warned and warned and warned. He should have gotten 3+ points taken away in that fight. He should have been honestly disqualified for that in that fight. I mean, it was bad. It was some seriously nasty eye pokes. And Eric Anders, he beat Jamie Pickett, who hasn't, you know. He beat Kyle Dawkins, who hasn't. He got destroyed by Andre Muniz. He got destroyed by Khalil Roundtree. I mean, these guys both kind of suck, and I kind of want to pick them both to lose, but I can't. I got to pick one of them. I'm going to take Eric Anders because he's the younger fighter. He's the more powerful fighter. And he was in the NFL. So, whatever. Let's pick him. Give me Eric Anders by KO. Next up, we have Marcus McGee taking on Jonathan Martinez. And Marcus McGee, very, very powerful. Super fast on the feet. Good low kicks. Great hooks. Great combinations. He's fought a bunch of nobodies. To be fair, he's 3-0 in the UFC with 3 KOs. Super impressive. But when the best fighter that you fought is JP Buys, that's bad. JP Buys is awful. He's awful. And everybody can KO JP Buys, including Marcus McGee. And Marcus McGee could very well KO Jonathan Martinez. But Jonathan Martinez is so good. He really took the fight to Jose Aldo. I know that Jose Aldo beat his ass, but hey, when it comes to Jose Aldo, especially looking at Mario Batista's performance against him, Jonathan Martinez looked like a world-class striker in there, man. Seriously. Jonathan Martinez also has some of the best low kicks in the lower weight classes. He has a record-setting, I think it's 3 low kick KOs that he has in the UFC. He's just a real great fighter, man. He's got great low kicks. He's super, super fast. He took the fight to Jose Aldo, and I think that he's going to take the fight to Marcus McGee. Marcus McGee is one of the best prospects in the UFC right now. Probably the best prospect at bantamweight besides maybe Peyton Talbot. But Marcus McGee, I don't think he's fought anybody good enough yet for me to actually pick him to fight Jonathan Martinez or to beat Jonathan Martinez. I think Jonathan Martinez is going to, piece him up on the feet, stay on the outside, get his low kicks working, and I think that he's going to get a 30-27 decision. There is a chance that Marcus McGee can catch him with his good power. Great power, in fact, but I'm just not going to pick that to happen. So give me Jonathan Martinez by a 30-27 decision. Next up, starting off this pay-per-view, we have Brazilian Conor McGregor, Mauricio Ruffy, taking on James Longtop. Give me James Longtop, man. James Longtop, in his past couple fights, he's looked absolutely great, and I think that he's going to stop the hype train of Brazilian Conor McGregor, Mauricio Ruffy. And obviously, I'm just kidding. James Longtop is terrible. He's 0-2 in the UFC, and he's fought Cans, and he's lost to Cans. And now they're giving him Mauricio Ruffy. Mauricio Ruffy has gained a lot of hype in only one fight, when he completely wiped up Jamie Malarkey. He completely wiped him up, man. He had this crazy scissor takedown. He had some great low kicks. He had landed the precise left hand, and he just reminded everybody of Conor McGregor. His tattoos are like Conor McGregor's, kinda. He looks like Conor McGregor, but with brown hair. He fights like Conor McGregor. He has power like Conor McGregor did. I think Mauricio Ruffy's going to be going places, man. And he's a fighting nerd. And those fighting nerds have been absolutely dominant when it comes to their fighters. So, long story short, man, give me Mauricio Ruffy, first round KO. Next up, we have Viviane Araújo taking on Katrina Silva. And if you want me to be honest with you, I do not care about this fight. I do not care about this fight at all. I'm going to take Katrina Silva, for one, because she's 4-0 in the UFC and actually knocks people out. And if you do that in women's MMA, that gives you a huge plus just off the bat. And then for 2, she's 7 years younger than Viviane Araújo. And for 3, Viviane Araújo's on a losing streak. So honestly, that's just enough for me to pick Katrina Silva. I hope this fight ends soon because I'm going to be honest, I don't care about this fight, and they should have put Jonathan Martinez and Marcus McGee on. Next up in our co-main to the co-main event, we got Bo Nickel taking on Paul Craig. This would be the most Paul Craig thing ever for Paul Craig to find a submission off his back late in the 3rd round when Bo Nickel's dominating him. But let's actually take this fight into account. Last fight against Bo Nickel against Cody Brundage. Did Bo Nickel beat up Cody Brundage? Yes. Did Bo Nickel sub Cody Brundage? Yes. Did Bo Nickel look good? Not at all. Did Bo Nickel meet expectations? Not even close. Did Bo Nickel's striking look good? Absolutely not. Bo Nickel is so overrated, man. He really, really is. And I would not be surprised if Paul Craig gets him. I know that Paul Craig is very, very chinny. But on the feet, he is better than Bo Nickel. His striking is so much better than Bo Nickel. I know people like to say that it's terrible because he has no chin, but his striking is 30 times better than Bo Nickel's, man. And I honestly feel like that Paul Craig's going to be beating Bo Nickel on the feet, and I think there's a real chance that he catches him off his back with a submission. So I'm not going to take Paul Craig. But this is definitely a 50-50 fight. I am going to take Bo Nickel by a submission in the 3rd. But this fight's going to be very, very close, and I could totally see Paul Craig. Next up in our co-main event, we have Charles Oliveira taking on Michael Chandler in a 5-round fight, the rematch, and I already made a whole video on this. I think it's going to go the exact same way as the first fight. I think Charles Oliveira is going to lose the first round. He might get dropped, might get caught, might get held on his back on the ground a little bit by Michael Chandler, but he's going to come out in the second round blazing hot, and he's going to knock out Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler does not know how to fight after the first round. I've already made a whole video on it. Go check it out. It's my latest video. I think Charles Oliveira, he's going to knock out Michael Chandler in the second. Okay, I think it's going to be a check left hook just like it was the first time, and I think Charles Oliveira is just going to be hunting down his prey for the entire second round, and then he's eventually going to catch Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler's going to be all pumped out, walking up, walking out. He's going to be like, yeah, oh yeah. He's going to come in there, maybe drop Charles Oliveira, probably take him down a couple times, throw some big winging overhands into some big double leg takedowns, and then eventually he's going to gas out. And he's going to realize that after the first round, he kind of sucks. And then Charles Oliveira is going to knock him out. All these things that I'm about to say, or that I could be saying, I already said in a video before. So if you want to hear more about this fight, go check that out. Give me Charles Oliveira by a second round KO. And finally, in the main event of the evening, we got Jon Jones taking on Stipe Miocic. Jon Jones obviously is going to win, right? Wrong. I think you're wrong on that one, man. I think you guys are wrong for writing off Stipe, man. I'm actually kind of getting hyped for this fight on Fight Week. I've been so disappointed in it, for ever since it got announced. But right now, I've been really looking at the fight, really thinking, does Stipe have a chance? And honestly, yeah. Stipe debatably has better boxing than Jon Jones, and maybe even a better chin, if we're going to be honest here. I know that Stipe's old. I know that he got knocked out by Francis. But you never know what type of Stipe you're going to see, man. You always got to have hope. You always got to have hope that Stipe is going to beat this steroid abuser, right? This woman beater, coke doing steroid abuser. I hope Stipe gets him, okay? But I just don't think it's going to happen. If it goes past the third round, I honestly think that Stipe has a pretty good chance, but I'm not going to say that he's going to win. I'm not going to pick Stipe to win, man. At the end of the day, Jon Jones is the GOAT, and he's more motivated than he has been in a few fights for sure. He's motivated not to lose. He's scared of losing. It's the reason why he's not fighting Tom Aspinall. He does not want to lose at all. Okay? So his motivation is to not lose. And I think that all Jon Jones cares about is not losing. Not necessarily winning, but not losing. And I think he's going to take that into account. And I think that he's going to drag Stipe to the ground in round one. He's going to hop on his back, and he's going to choke him out. All right? I really hope this doesn't happen. I hope Stipe I hope he knocks him out in the first. Okay, but I just can't pick that to happen. So give me Jon Jones by a first round rear naked choke submission. Who's with me?